My name is Nick Gotzo. I'm with the team here at MusiCounts. We are talking to all of the nominees for the 2021 MusiCounts Teacher of the Year Award. And today I'm here with Bruce Millard of Toronto, Ontario. Bruce, I just want to start by congratulating you on being a nominee for this award. And I just want to ask you, what's the process been like so far going through? I know you've talked to a lot of media and radio and stuff like that. How's the process been?
Well, it's been completely overwhelming, and a big thank you to MusiCounts for this really humbling honor. Uh, Something that I don't think, as a music teacher, you ever think about or aspire to this sort of thing, but it has been a really, really fantastic experience to have the chance to see the music program at Carleton Village where I teach recognized in this way. And it's been really amazing for the parents, the community, and the students to have Carleton Village's name announced with the JUNO nominees, and really, really special for those students. So I think as humbling as it has been just a great experience, and such an honor, especially coming from MusiCounts, who has been so supportive to the music program at our school and have really enabled so many things to happen at the school where I work, and just a testament to the amazing work that MusiCounts is doing right across Canada. So yeah, it's been a real honor.
Well, that's great. And no, Bruce, it's our pleasure. We're honored to be able to recognize you in this way. You've done some amazing things for your students over the years, and especially this year. So we're really delighted to be in a position to be able to celebrate the amazing work that you're doing. So thank you. Um, I know that you said you watched the nominee press event with your students. And that was where all of the JUNO nominees, as well as the nominees for the Teacher of the Year Award, were announced. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience was like?
Yeah, and when MusiCounts let us know that it would be broadcast, I thought, "Well, I don't know, maybe I can watch it later." And then I thought during the day, it might be neat to watch this with the students. So we were watching through it. I didn't tell them why, and there's so many musicians that are, their favorites, watching The Weekend be nominated for awards, and then to see Carleton Village Sports and Wellness Academy up there with the MusiCounts Award was surprising for them, but I think a neat thrill to see a school that they're a part of recognized amidst all of these other musicians with whom they're so familiar.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Um, I want to now talk a little bit about, you as a teacher and your philosophy to teaching. So maybe you can just share with us a bit about what music education looks like at your school and how you approach teaching music with your students.
I think every music teacher gets into music teaching because they are just so passionate about musicianship and being a musician. And then the challenge becomes, how do you transfer that energy and that passion uh, to your students and to get them as equally excited about music? I think inherently most people love music, but it can be the act of music making can sometimes be intimidating for students, and a lot of students can be self-conscious about the way they make music, and perhaps hesitant, particularly in front of their peers. And so my philosophy has been that we're all equal in how we come into the music room, and we're all able to make a beautiful noise in whatever way we can. And I think what that means is, on a practical level, really looking for the opportunities for each student to be successful, to share their voice, to find the instrument that speaks to them, and to continually try and keep things interesting and relevant uh, to students now, after I've been doing this 14 years, because the world keeps changing, particularly this year. And the way to engage students, I think, makes each day an incredible pleasure. I often tell people that my job is one that I feel like I would do for free, just because it's such a blast every day making music with kids.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear. Um, Speaking of, it always changing. Just for those who are watching, because this isn't going to be aired until early May, but today is April 6th, 2021, and you just found out hours ago that you'll be going back to full remote learning for the foreseeable future. So what's going through your mind right now? What's happening?
Yeah, this has been interesting. I've picked up, there's so many new jargon words this year. Pivoting. I thought that was a basketball word
Yeah.
before, and synchronous and asynchronous. But what's been amazing is just how resilient the students have been. When I told them today we're going back to virtual school, they sort of took it in stride, and they were just, some of them were very disappointed because they've enjoyed being in person so much for the last few weeks. But I think they understand that this is something we've now done a couple of times, and it's going to be okay, and we're going to keep learning, and we're going to keep our community together. So yeah, it's definitely been a real like quick learning experience, I think, for teachers across the globe. But what's amazing is how, I've always found this in teaching. Everyone is sharing, and there's so much out there to pull from. So, especially with the way we're able to access everything through our computers, it's actually been it's cool to get to try some new things this year too.
Cool. So, and for folks who might not really understand what it looks like to teach music from a distance, can you just maybe color that in a little bit for folks? What are some things that you do with your students? How do you make music virtually?
So I've tried it a number of different ways over the past year. I've tried recording videos, like small sort of episodes of it almost felt like a TV show at times, where I was recording videos for students to watch at a time that worked for them. That would I almost just pretended I was in the music room with them, and I would pretend to hear them singing or doing call and response, and just imagine they were there. When we started using Google Meet for music, a lot of the times, when doing singing, the first thing you realize is there's going to be lag. And, if you're all singing together with your mics on, things are going to sound a little funky. So that was fun to play around with the kids. And we did some choir practices that way over Zoom. And, it was a lot of fun. That led us to trying to do virtual choir, which you might have seen a few of these on YouTube, where everyone records themselves simultaneously. I had no idea, I think, when I started, quite how that all worked. But there's incredible staff at Carleton Village who helped with the technical side of that, and parents who recorded their students, their kids singing along to recording, and trying to do all that. And then when we've been back this year, with not having the ability to do singing in classrooms, and to try and maintain cohorts, and we've been doing a lot of music classes, both with a lot more percussion, body percussion, and a lot more of that sort of thing, and working in teams remotely, to try and keep things as safe as possible. And it's also been a chance to really explore the technological side of making music, because a large part of my program up until this point has been more focused on vocal and playing instruments, ukulele, orff instruments. I used to teach band. We do a lot of drumming. But now that in this past year, we've explored um, really cool tools through Chrome Music Lab, which has been really fun for the kids, and another program called Soundtrap, which is like an online a digital audio workstation, which the kids are picking up faster than I ever did when I was their age. So it's, I think it's given a chance for maybe some of the students who are more technologically minded already to have a different access point into music. And I'm sure I will continue to do more of that after we go back to hopefully a more normal situation.
Yeah, for sure. And that was what I was going to ask you. Is there anything from this experience of teaching remotely, having to deal with these restrictions and not being able to do so-called business as usual? I know it's been really challenging and there's not a lot of great things to say about it most of the time, but is there anything that you'll kind of take away from this moving forward in your teaching practice?
For sure. Uh, just as I said, it feels like the more and more each year technology evolves, the more and more level the playing field is for musicians. And I think that's true in the industry, but it's also true in education. And there have been huge investments in getting technology into kids' hands this year. So to give them more tools and maybe to incorporate you know MIDI controllers as we go forward with these computers, but to say like, look, everyone, from their classroom or their bedroom or wherever can produce some amazing music and real high quality uh, recordings. And I think that's definitely something we'll take with us after this year. Or there are probably tons of music teachers who are already doing so much of this. But for myself personally, it's, just the way it's engaged students in new ways certainly makes it worth the time to learn how to do it all.
Totally. And students have been, in your experience, like quite receptive to these changes that you've been forced to introduce because of COVID? Like, are students kind of ready to roll with the punches like you are, or does it take some convincing at times? Or
I think as much as you can this year keep things familiar and normal and consistent, and whether that is just the music program taught in a new way, at least it's something they are familiar with, something they look forward to, and something that feels uh, you know like it feels safe and it feels consistent. I think there's been a lot of challenges for students to have to deal with this year, and anything that can be sort of maybe a distraction. I think we all need that this year from thinking about those things
yeah,
that they've had to deal with this year. Has they've been receptive. It has been yeah, certainly it taking things in a different direction. Always it takes time to build that capacity within the student body. But as I said, when it comes to technology, oftentimes they're the ones figuring it out before I am. So
yeah,
uh,
for sure.
yeah.
And yeah, and this is something that we've seen across the board, not just in school, but kind of generally, that music is this really great distraction, or this really amazing thing that reminds us that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that there's something that can make us feel good when there's a lot that's doing the opposite right now. And you've seen that in your students, how music is kind of the source of coping, or like a productive distraction.
Oh, for sure. And just it's interesting how giving space for students to express themselves is really, really important at this time, because I think, you know, a lot of times kids hold it together for the adults in their lives, and we're not exactly sure, you know, what fully they might be feeling. And I think I've seen this before. Um, before lockdowns and that sort of thing, that music for a lot of people is that avenue of expression, and that way of dealing and processing emotions, and uh, having an outlet for creativity and expression. There's got to be a therapeutic aspect to it. I think it's hard to figure out exactly what that is sometimes in a tangible sense, but yeah, certainly, I think having another way for them to express themselves, especially this year, has been really, really important.
Yeah.
I think they do really miss singing though, and that could be my personal bias, but I know that so many of the wonderful moments we have in school are times when lots of people are singing together, and I know that that's something. I can think of many students who are really missing that aspect of music, and so that's maybe something as the next few months go on, that I keep working on figuring out ways of replicating that side of the music program.
Totally. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm wondering, is there a particular story or a particular experience you've had with one of your students in the past that has really stuck out to you, that kind of speaks to why music is so essential to have in schools? We all kind of know that music is so important. I know I'm preaching to the choir right now, but there are some folks, especially right now, who kind of assume that music, oh, teaching is happening remotely, well, music, that can't happen. But hearing you talk about all the amazing things that you've done, it goes to show that it's very possible. It just looks a little bit different. But anyway, all of that to say, is there a particular story, maybe from this year or even before this year, that really drives home for you why music is so important to have all of the time, regardless of whether it's in person or remote?
I think that the thing that really drives me to keep advocating for music at Carleton Village and at schools across Canada are the things that are beneficial to all students, that it builds a sense of leadership, that it builds a sense of community, that there's so many cognitive benefits, that having the discipline of learning an instrument applies to all sorts of aspects of our life beyond music. You may not become a professional musician, but you can use these skills everywhere. But I think on a personal level, the students I really go to work for are the ones who are maybe at risk in other classes, who might not see success in a math class every day, who might not get that validation, who might feel like in a lot of different aspects of schooling, it can be a struggle. And we do have those students at all schools. And I think some of my best moments of teaching, and after the years start to add up, you can see the faces of so many kids who just, they were in their class the superstar in music, and everyone sort of, it's like, hold on, this, what's going on? And suddenly they were taking that place of respect and achievement, and not through maybe any teaching I did, but just an inherent ability to express themselves through music. And I think that has to be really validating for that kid. And I hope maybe the thing that helps keep them coming back each day with optimism of seeing success in all sorts of subjects. But that, yeah, there are definitely examples of that, and it's it's surprising too, because sometimes you'll hear maybe a student's name for the wrong reason, and then you think, there, that's my favorite kid. He's amazing, or she's amazing. So, yeah, there's lots and lots of examples of that. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, that's so great and so important. Thanks for sharing that. Um, I also wanted to ask you, from your perspective, there's a lot to be, obviously a lot to be celebrated about music education, but there are a lot of issues in music education as well with regards to, who has access to it and who doesn't, and, the cost associated with it, and, the quality of experience based on where you are. So in your opinion, what is the biggest issue facing music education in Canada right now?
I think as we look towards the next school year, I think right now there are challenges across education. It's
Yeah.
certainly no one's uh, ideal school year, but as we look to next year and decisions start to be made about how funds are going to be spent, um, music programs uh, need to be remembered as something that is important within schools, because without funding, without putting priorities on having specialist music teachers in schools, um, music programs start to fall apart. And I've seen this, having inherited band instruments that barely played, or um, you know like a couple of xylophones, but certainly not enough to run a class. When I started at two different schools, and at both of those schools, the thing that really turned things around and made the music program start to come alive was grants from MusiCounts and investment in instruments. And it seems like something that's just like really practical and kind of boring, like,
Yeah.
but that the students having something in their hands to play, or and excellent, good quality instruments, um, I think it makes them feel uh, valued. It makes them feel like they're doing something important, and makes them feel more professional. And certainly, the sound that comes out uh, is uh, is addictive, and that's really what you want in a music program. You want kids to come in and get really addicted to making music and trying again despite mistakes, and getting that, uh, you know getting to the end of a piece and saying, like, let's try that again, that was awesome. And that really comes from investing. And so I think, over 14 years, there's uh, so many organizations that are fighting so hard, Music Counts and the Coalition for Music Education, that are fighting so hard to keep music as a priority. And I don't think that job will ever be done, because I think there's a perception that maybe the arts, in a year where it was, people feel like students have maybe fallen behind this year. Well, we need to spend more time on math and language. But I think when you look at schools with strong music programs, you see that it affects success in every aspect, in every part of their schooling and their curriculum. So um, it's I'm certainly thankful for the work that organizations are doing, and for the people who support those organizations. And I know it can be challenging, and I think I can certainly speak for myself and other music teachers I've spoken to, how much it's appreciated, uh, you know, at the classroom level.
Well, that's really lovely to hear, Bruce. Thank you. And I also wanted to ask, for what advice would you give to teachers who are struggling right now? I'm a part of a lot of educator Facebook groups, for example. Like I'm sure you are, and I know so many teachers, particularly in Ontario, are really stressed about the future of their programs. They're really stressed. They don't know how to, properly or most effectively advocate. Um, do you have any advice or words of wisdom that you might want to share with some of those teachers?
It's a good question. I've never. uh, I think I've been so incredibly fortunate to work at the school I work at, and I work with, um, an incredible principal. I've worked with the former principal as well. Was incredibly supportive, and the staff too. This year we've worked so much with as colleagues at delivering music education through Google Meet, and I think this year has been, I think for a lot of people, pretty isolating. We're not used to, as teachers, working in a bubble. I think that uh, you know a lot of what goes into teaching happens behind the scenes in preparing yourself to get up in front of 30 kids, which can be nerve-wracking, and a lot of that support comes from uh, you know talking to colleagues in the staff room, which we haven't been able to do this year, or if you've been all on virtual, for everyone who has been working from home, it has been really difficult. And I think, uh, you know, that hopefully as we return, to a place where we can more safely interact with each other, those connections between colleagues will start to hopefully reform at those schools, and that 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 unfortunately, as a music teacher, you might end up having to be the advocate for your own program, but that the payout for being that advocate is just incredibly important for kids, and it's something worth fighting for.
Yeah, for sure. Um, One last thing I wanted to ask you. Obviously, you're a nominee for the Teacher of the Year award, which is amazing. But how do you, as a teacher who's quite experienced, who's been teaching for a while, what are the ways that you keep learning yourself as an educator?
Um, yeah, no, certainly. I think like, even just the sound of Teacher of the Year just seemed. I was thinking about Sophie and Nicholas and Stephen and Mary and the other nominees, and thinking like that there's no like, Teacher of the Year seems kind of ridiculous, but the idea just to me more of celebrating this process of being a music educator is so cool in that um, you know the I'm always looking at other music teachers and what they're doing, and as you say, like different forums and different communities to find new ideas, to find ways of just making every minute in the music room count for more. I think it's a really special experience because oftentimes you have like maybe 40 minutes a week with a kid, or maybe 80 minutes a week to really make an impact. And um, I think so much of that is just having the courage to try things that may fail and try new things that might completely crash and burn. One of the things that has been really important to me is finding ways to reflect the student body that I teach. And oftentimes that student body looks a lot different from me. They're from different backgrounds than me. And I feel like sometimes an imposter trying to teach music that isn't music that I was brought up on, or that wasn't part of my cultural upbringing. But in Toronto, we're just overwhelmingly blessed with musicians who have those specialties, and that's been such an amazing part. I think a surprise part of being a music teacher is learning from these incredible musicians. We had one in last week. His name is Ruben Esquera, and he did Colombian drumming with the students over Zoom. and he's, you know, showing them instruments I've haven't seen before, and showing them, you know, interesting, connecting history to the indigenous people of Colombia, and teaching them all these things. And I'm sure I'll absorb that and take away from that, and incorporate that. And I think we have to be open to that, and particularly in music, being open to the fact that, you know, our what we were brought up on is definitely, you know, there's so much out there, and so much that we can reflect in our teaching, that can to connect with the kids that are actually in our classroom. So I was looking at, MusiCounts had just released this program. I think it's called Canada, about Indigenous voices, and about, you know, current Indigenous artists, and looking at some of that with the students, who like just completely opens their minds to, uh, you know, musical forms and sounds and ideas that they had never even considered, and or that some of them, that really reflects their background, and their identity. So I think, you know, that however many years I do this job, I'll never feel like I've uh, learned all there is to learn, and you know, it's, but which is, yeah, it definitely is a job that keeps you humble, because there's, you know, as just as many moments where I can think of that completely bombed as went well. So.
Yeah. Well, Bruce, thank you so much. This was an amazing conversation. It's so special to hear you talk about um, what you do and how much you love what you do. So thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. Good luck tomorrow as you go back to virtual learning, and congratulations again on being nominated. Like I said at the beginning, we're just so happy to be able to celebrate the amazing work that you're doing every day for the students at your school. So thank you from everyone here at MusiCounts for everything that you do. Um, it's just so inspiring. So thanks again. And good luck on the Juno's broadcast when the winner of the award is announced.
Thank you so much, Nick. It was so good to meet you. I hope we meet in person someday. And I can just thank you too, also from the community. I can tell you that everyone at Carleton was just really thrilled, and especially the students. So thank you again to everyone at MusiCounts for what you're doing.
Thanks, Bruce.